God. Ask Scott.
Hi, Scott. My question is in regards to public liability insurance. So my concern is that if someone is using one of my products and injures themselves, am I liable for that, and should I have cover in place for it? The Amazon Help service shows a number of things on there regarding insurance, and that as a professional seller, it says you should have this insurance in place. Another area said it's relevant only if you're a seller with over 10,000 units per month being sold. So I guess my query is trying to get some clarity around whether us sellers need to have this insurance, and just your thoughts on it, whether you have this insurance in place as well, would be much appreciated. And just a quick note to say that I really enjoy the podcast. Really helpful for sellers like myself, and just great to be able to listen to a guy who is normal and not trying to sell something to us. All good. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate your time. Cheers.
Well, hey there. Thank you so much for the question. I say hey there because you didn't say your name, but I believe it's Blair. So Blair, thank you so much for the question. And again, I have answered this in the past, and whether it's on a podcast or just in an email, it's definitely a great question. And this all really does come down to the individual. And yes, you are right. When you get to a certain level, Amazon will require any seller to have insurance, liability insurance, and business insurance in general. Now, when you're private labeling, I'll be totally 100% honest with you guys. It's not that easy to just walk in and say, hi, my name is Scott. I want some business insurance for my private label business. It's not that easy. And I found that out by going through my local, different insurance companies and stuff. And then, it was just trying to figure out, they didn't understand what I was really trying to do. So I did reach out to a couple other ones that, people had emailed me and said, this is who I used or whatever. And then I would call those places and they say, yeah, we're no longer offering that. That was for a certain group or whatever. So it was really not that easy to find, be honest with you. It is out there. I have it right now. I do currently have it. But it is something that you will definitely need to search around for. Now, one little bit of advice I would give you is to call an insurance brokerage or a broker, okay, where they're going to be able to do the legwork for you, because a broker, they're going to make the money if they find a policy for you. So they're going to go out and they're going to contact all of these different insurance companies versus you just Googling, private labeler, liability insurance or liability business insurance. If you do that, you're going to find a bunch, but you're going to also get a lot of dead ends. So allowing a broker to do this for you, they're going to find the deal and then they're going to present the deals to you. And like I said, you can do this without having this liability insurance in place in the beginning. Once you start doing, I think I said $10,000. It's actually, I think 10,000 units sold is what I believe that the paperwork says inside of Amazon. Any seller that's doing 10,000 units, then they would need it. It may be $10,000. I forget what it was, but it's 10,000 something. And, so when you get to that level, you have to have it. And if you don't submit the paperwork, they may not contact you, but if they do, you need to give them that. You need to be able to supply that paperwork within, I believe it's 24 or 48 hours. And if not, then they suspend your account. So that is something to be concerned with, okay, once you get to that point, or even in the beginning. Okay. So I would look at contacting a broker. Now, just to give you some numbers, and it's going to change on how much money you're bringing in. So the liability insurance is usually based on the amount of revenue that is being produced. So kind of like how much sales that you're having. And so I basically told them when I started that I projected that I was going to do between 3 and 500,000. I had no idea what it was going to be, but they said, okay, let's just start at 300 or maybe it was even 250, and then we can always increase that. And when I did that, I believe at the time I cut them a check for like $3,500, somewhere in that range. And you know, a lot of people would be like, well, that's expensive, but it is. But I've heard some policies being as much as $5,000 to $7,000. And again, that's part of business. Works out to, if it is $3,000, it's, you know, a little over $300 a month. But that's business, right? It's business cost. Again, you kind of, you need it, you want it, because you want, if something happens, you want to be able to have that. Now, one little other side note here is, actually two side notes, is number one, you know, I would probably advise, especially in the beginning, is finding products that are not as dangerous, right? I wouldn't start off by selling, you know, like, Chinese stars or something, right? I don't know if you guys know what those are. Those are from back in my day where we used to buy them out of a magazine and we could, you know, shoot them at the tree or something. There's like this star that had all like, almost like, you know, knives on the thing. And here we are, you know, ordering it out of a magazine. They didn't have the internet back then. So we'd order it out of a magazine under our parents' name and get it. I don't even know how we did that, but we did. And we would shoot them at the tree in the backyard. But anyway, a little off on a tangent there on those, a little side note, Chinese stars. Okay. So the other thing was nunchucks. Remember those things? We used to make them, you know, anyway, you don't want to sell that type of stuff is what I'm saying, right? You don't want to sell something that could be harmful, ingestibles, you know, you don't, in the beginning, again, and I'll get some people that say like, Scott, well, I want to do, well, that's your call. I'm just saying, you know, to minimize the risk on a customer is going to also make it so if you didn't go down that road and get a policy right away and something did happen, God forbid, you'd have less chances of something happening. So that's just my thing. I'm always thinking about that. Like, is this something that someone could get really hurt or injured or maimed, or, you know what I mean? Like, or could hurt someone else. Like, you know, I want to be cautious of that. So that's the little side tip that I wanted to note there. The other little side tip that I wanted to also mention is making sure that you form your LLC. That's another thing that you want in place, like we just talked about. That's why that's important. Again, speak to your legal advisor, your counsel, your attorney, all of that stuff, because you want them to give you your own personal recommendation for your own assets, your own stuff. Because my biggest thing was I wanted to protect my personal assets. There's one thing to have the business, right? So kind of like an LLC is like the business, right? So any money that's brought into that checking account is technically the business's money. So if you were to get sued, you know, again, I'm not a legal advisor, but this is how it makes sense to me. If you're sued, they're going to sue the business, right? And then the business, then, you know, from there, your insurance policy, or maybe it would even work the other way. They would go to an insurance policy. If the insurance policy didn't cover anything, then after that, they would go after the business. And then after the business, they could technically possibly come after you. So it's really just like these different barriers that you're putting in place to protect you personally, but then also the business. So me personally, I've been really in the beginning too, as this thing started to take off, I started saying to myself, I need to put these things in place to protect my own personal, you know, assets and all of that stuff. So a little bit of a long-winded answer there, and we got a little sidetracked with the nunchucks and the Chinese star stuff, but fun fact there. Yeah, I just wanted to really stress that, you know, liability insurance is something that I would look into as soon as you can, and as soon as you think that your business needs it. All right, if you guys want to submit a question, head over to theamazingseller.com/ask, and you can do that. I want to also, again, remind you guys, if you're brand new and this is your first time to the show, I want to welcome you. I love hanging out with you guys. This is just awesome to be able to virtually connect like this. And that's why I love the Ask Scott sessions. But if you are brand new and you're just getting your feet wet and you don't understand the entire process, the entire business model, I would recommend attending one of my live free workshops. This is where I break it down for you in 5 phases: how to pick a market and a product, how to source it, how to do a pre-launch, how to do a launch, how to promote the product, and everything in between. We go over that on a workshop, and we go through every single thing. We also do live Q&A. So if you want to attend one of them, I would love to invite you to the next one, and you can register for the next one by heading over to theamazingseller.com/workshop, and you can register there for an upcoming workshop. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of Ask Scott. Now, that was just a highlight from one of our full episodes where I generally answer 3 to 4 questions on a podcast. If you want to go back and listen to all of the past archives of not just the Ask Scott session, but all of the full episodes where I do interviews with top Amazon sellers, people starting from scratch and building a business, if you want to listen to any of those episodes, head over to theamazingseller.com and you can find all of that over there. You can also find details there on how you can ask your own question and get it aired on an upcoming Ask Scott session and possibly see it here on YouTube or just on the podcast. All right, so definitely head over to theamazingseller.com. There's tons of resources over there for you to be able to build your e-commerce and Amazon business. So definitely go check that out. Now, I just wanted to remind you one thing before I let you go. There's a lot of information out there and some of it is really, really good. What I want you to remember is you have to not just consume the information, you have to actually apply that information. So take this information that you learned here today and apply it to your business. And this way here, you can get results. As my shirt says, I wear it almost daily. Take action. We'll see you guys.